You're listening to Why, I Wonder? Radio, the place that helps you send unsent letters. Have you ever felt ashamed of the cracks in your life? A broken heart after a passionate love, a dream that had to be put aside due to the burdens of life, or a mistake that haunts you, making it impossible to forgive yourself? We've tried to hide and deny them, only to retreat into a thorny shell, harboring invisible wounds within. But did you know? We often forget one thing: cracks are where the light gets in. They're not a sign of an end, but proof that we've lived bravely, loved with all our hearts, stumbled, and then risen again. Today, let's embark on a healing journey with Why, I Wonder? Radio. Let's find strength and courage in the cracks of our souls. The first letter is from Sarah. I am the most basic version of a child who grew up without love. It's in the way I slightly hunch my shoulders when I walk past a laughing group. It's in my eyes, always scanning to see if I'm bothering anyone. It's in the habit of saying, "I'm sorry," too much, even when I don't know what I did wrong. I never learned how to walk into a crowded room with my head held high, never knew what it felt like to be held tightly. Since childhood, I've lived as if I were a guest in my own life. And then, perhaps in the middle of school, at a party, or just a story someone posted, I saw a person. They laughed easily, dared to sit on the ground, acted silly without fear of judgment. They hugged their friends without hesitation, called their parents, and never forgot to say, "I love you," at the end of the call. That was the essence of someone who was loved, and I realized there was an invisible gap between them and me. Like someone who had lived their whole life in the shade, seeing another born under the sun. They weren't brilliant because they tried, they shone because they had never been forgot. As for me, I had to learn not to bother anyone, to hide my emotions, to comfort myself, and to consider overcoming challenges on my own as a given. I was never taught how to be loved, and when I looked at them, I wasn't jealous. I just felt pity for myself, pity for the child I once was, who lived in silence for so many years simply because no one had ever chosen to love me completely. The next letter is from Emily, my little sister, the girl who cries a lot. Hey, Emily, do you know? When I heard your story, my heart sank deeply. I know how hard you tried when you recounted things you wanted to forget to a fool like me. I am not you, nor have I been by your side long enough. I don't know why the world keeps bringing you so much sorrow. I see it all but can do nothing, nor can I break each chain around you or even myself. In that moment, I felt useless. I couldn't do anything for you because I realized I, too, carried many past wounds. But Emily, you are human, with the right to live, to dream, and to hope. If one day you waver in your choices, remember that there is and has always been someone who believes you will live for yourself. If you want to rest, rest. If you want to move forward, move forward. But as long as it's your decision, not anyone else's. And Emily, my sad girl, there's one thing this foolish guy hasn't dared to say. I thank you for living, and I'm proud of you for still being you when others tried to make you disappear. I'm grateful you were born, and for being with this overthinking person. The next letter is from Joyce. To Chloe. I'm not sure if this letter will reach you, or if you still want to hear anything from me, but there are things I've kept in my heart for too long, and now I think I need to say them. Chloe, you were once my only light during my darkest time. You were the first person to hold my hand through those cold days. You taught me how to love, to feel, to care for someone not just with emotion, but also with gentleness, patience, and understanding. Perhaps you don't know that September, you were the warmest light I had. We were once very happy, weren't we? But there were also so many exhausting times. The more we loved, the more we expected. The more we expected, the more we got hurt. Our disagreements and quarrels were like small cracks, gradually shattering something I thought would never change. In the end, we chose to let go, not because we stopped loving each other, but because we were too tired to keep carrying the burden. Nearly a year and a half has passed. You are probably at peace with a new partner. Someone you chose after me, and who might stay with you longer than the time we had together. I'm not jealous, nor do I blame you. My heart just feels adrift when I think of you. The person who used to be my home, I still haven't learned how to let go. Days pass, and your image keeps reappearing like an unshakable habit. I'm not writing these lines hoping you'll come back or to trouble you further. I just want to thank you for coming into my life, for loving me with everything you had, even if it was for a finite time. And I apologize for not being able to hold on to the love we built together. If one day you read these words, I just hope you know that somewhere, there's still someone who loved you very much, and even though we're apart, I always wish for you to live happily, truly happily, with the choices you make. Goodbye, the one who was my entire youth. The next letter is from K, addressed to Mia, the person who once pulled me out of the dark ocean. Perhaps you don't know or have never thought that your presence was once the only light shining into my dark life. I used to live in an unhappy family. The quarrels, sleepless nights, harsh curses, arbitrary beatings. Furniture smashed, times hiding in corners, all these were like deep scars in a child's mind. I used to think I'd just get used to it, but actually no one can ever get used to pain. I didn't choose to rebel, nor did I blame fate. I chose to wear a mask called happiness. Everyone thought I was okay, because I always smiled, helped people, and made jokes. But few knew that behind it all was a shattered soul. That year, I left my hometown for Bin Duong to live with my aunt and uncle, carrying the hope of a new beginning. I hoped to be happier, but nothing changed. New school, new friends, new environment, yet I was still the one wearing the old mask. I was lonely in a crowd, tired, but always smiling. Some nights, after a day of laughter and talking, I would break down crying in the bathroom. I used to wish someone would see through my mask and ask me, "Are you okay?" And then you appeared, not gently, not hesitantly, but full of personality, frank, strong, a little reckless, but always giving your all. In my eyes, you were a special girl, different and very cool. From the very first days, you became an extraordinary presence in my life. Every time I saw you, the world around me seemed a little lighter, and my mind gradually became filled only with your image. You were always present around me like a miraculous coincidence. Once, we tried to see who could stand the cold better by putting our hands in a bucket of ice water. I tried hard to endure so I wouldn't lose. And when you pulled your hand out, I held it. Every time someone mentioned your name, my face would flush. I thought I liked you. A clear and genuine feeling. Just your presence made everything around me warm. You were like a fire in a cold room. Even after all this time, I've never forgotten you. You are the most special person I've ever met. That's why I don't want to and can't forget you. Your appearance made me change so much. I studied harder, especially math, just because I loved the feeling of helping you with your assignments. I lived better, started exercising and taking care of my health. I loved the way you focused on reading, because then I couldn't take my eyes off you. I wanted to become a better version of myself, worthy of the light you brought. Every morning I waited for you to borrow my notebook to copy notes, so I always completed my homework. I secretly watched you, secretly liked you, but sometimes tried to push you away because I was afraid someone would discover the cracks in my life. The last few months sitting next to you were the happiest time of my school life. We studied together, tried hard together, and it seemed we got similar results. Every time you slumped over your desk, I would quietly look at you. Sometimes I pretended to sleep just to be closer to you. Once, during recess, you were sleeping soundly on your desk, and I secretly kissed your cheek. It was both a silent greeting and a silent farewell. No one knew, but I smiled like a child. It had been so long since I felt truly alive. Then that day came. I had to go back to my hometown. I knew beforehand but didn't tell anyone because I was afraid everyone would be sad, especially you. That day, my family and I went to school to withdraw my academic records. When I stepped out of the hall, you were waiting for me. You didn't say much, just asked where I was going. I said I was withdrawing my records. You waved goodbye to me. I wanted to hug you tightly, but only dared to give a loose hug before turning away. I didn't cry, but I was in pain. I had begged my parents to let me stay because it was the happiest year of my life. You and our class were the best things I ever had. But I think whether I stayed or not, those beautiful things would always be precious memories. Years later, I still occasionally follow you on social media, sometimes sending a few lines to check in, sometimes sharing a few thoughts. When I return to my old life, I get submerged in familiar negativity. Thanks to you, thanks to what you did for me, I became much stronger. Once I saw your picture in a post. Still those eyes, still that strength and courage. But you had matured and were more radiant than before. Still the girl who lived fully, lived rationally, and with great bravery. As for me, I still care for you. I've loved a few people, but it seems my heart is no longer full enough to love anyone completely, because I realized I still have feelings for you. Not a wild, passionate kind of love, but one that has never faded. I still remember you, remember the memories, your smile, your figure, that kiss, the times we lay next to each other talking, the accidental meetings, I remember everything. I don't hope to be with you. That's why when you brought up the topic of liking each other, I frankly refused. I was afraid that a long-distance relationship would distort those beautiful feelings. I just want to quietly follow you from somewhere and see you happy. That's enough for me. Every time I feel lost and think of you, I try to change. Again and again, you are like the light pulling me out of the darkness. I don't want to be a faded version of myself. If someday someone mentions me in your heart, I want to be the best version of myself. For my sake, and for the sake of the you from that year who walked through the worst days with me. It's been 6 years, and I still quietly miss you, like a bright star in the vast night sky. I still secretly love you, and always only you. The last letter is from Luna, addressed to my future self. If I could, I wish I could hug you, just a little, very gently. To let you know that it's okay, everything will pass, like clouds silently drifting towards the horizon. My dear, you've done so well today. Even if you haven't accomplished anything grand, even if it was just trying to open your eyes, fighting against the heavy feeling in your heart, that's enough to embrace yourself, to not let go. You might not clearly remember every moment of how hard you tried, but I will. I remember your eyes filled with tears, your hands trembling from exhaustion, your heart pounding with fear, and those nights you lay quietly, wishing someone would understand you without you having to speak. Hey, you are not useless, you are not weak. You are just walking through a path filled with wind and shadows, but eventually you will reach a place with sunshine, flowers, laughter, someone's loving gaze, and yourself, the version you are dreaming of today. I know my future self will read these lines and gently smile. Perhaps because you've overcome it, perhaps because there's still a hint of sorrow. But no matter what, I hope you will still embrace yourself, gently, like someone healing a tired heart. No need to rush, just enough sincerity. My dear, forgive yourself for the moments of weariness, the times you fell, and don't forget to thank yourself for always trying to live. Even when you sometimes didn't know what you were living for. If today you can only breathe, that's enough. I still believe, and will always believe, in that little Luna from back then. My dear listeners, true beauty lies not in flawless perfection, but in the courage to accept and love your own scars. Every crack is a part of life's story, proof of life, of courage, and of a heart that has learned to heal. It's thanks to the dark days that we learn to cherish the light. It's thanks to our stumbles that we get the chance to learn how to stand up stronger. The existing cracks are a reminder for us to learn to love and cherish those who have been by our side through stormy days, and more importantly, to love ourselves, to comfort and soothe our inner wounds. Why, I wonder? Wishes your soul to always be a lush green garden where kindness is sown and sweet fruits bloom. And that's this week's radio episode. Send us your letters at the mailbox linked in the comments section. Don't forget to follow the channel and await the next episodes of Why, I Wonder. Bye.